Sorry.
Very good.
Hey, guys, and welcome to the live stream. We're going live right now. This is episode number 128. You can see Shawn McFarland there from the Dallas Morning News. He is at, John Wayne Airport? Is that where you're at?
That's correct.
And we've also got Kennedi Landry from MLB. Thanks for them joining on. Of course, Jeff Wilson from Rangers Today.
Hi.
I'll try to drive this bus. We have some questions that are going to go in here. Let's see if we can get the comments going. And looks like we've got a few people on there right now. Guys, jump in if you've got questions. We've already got a few to ask. But more than anything, if nobody asks questions, we're going to figure out what's going on with this Texas Ranger team heading into the All-Star break. What's going on in the second half? Are they going to be buyers, sellers, what? And if we're going to find out about that, let's go to three of the people that cover them every day and are in that locker room. Guys, let me start it out this way. I'll ask y'all. I have my own opinions, but so far, who has been the biggest disappointment in the first half of the season?
Oh my God.
Well, I guess we'll let the veteran go first. Biggest disappointment, probably probably Adolis. I don't know. He's hitting 212 or something like that. He keeps coming up empty in big situations. I think he's probably got to be the clubhouse leader for that one.
Yeah, I guess my thought is kind of Jonah Heim, honestly, just the way he was an all-star last year. I think his defense isn't quite as good as it has been in the last few years as well. And the catcher position, obviously, this year has kind of come up empty a lot of times, not just Jonah, but behind him too. And I think, if Jonah's riding really good, behind those top four, things are going a lot better for the Rangers right now. Obviously, it's not just him, but I think that's a sneaky candidate for somebody who's kind of disappointed a lot this year. Sorry to Jonah Heim.
What about you, Shawn?
You guys took the easy ones, but I agree with Jeff. I think it has been a dull. I think even this last week, Jonah has hit well this last week. Leody Taveras has hit well this last week. Nathaniel Lowe has been very solid for the last few weeks, and Adolis has been the one guy aside from the go-ahead home run in Tuesday's game against the Angels. You can see this lineup lengthening out as Jonah, Leody, and Nate Lowe kind of get back into form, and I think they're kind of just waiting on Adolis to also rediscover his swing, and that makes this lineup look a lot more like it did last year, I think.
Yeah, it's he's right in the middle of it. I know they've moved him down a little bit with Langford now batting fourth, but and on Jonah, I just wonder, he didn't have a day off. A game off. He had days off in October. It's not like they played every day in October, but from basically September 20th on, he caught every game, and pretty much every inning of every game. There was that funky situation where poor old Austin Hedges had to play in game one of the World Series and almost had to bat, the happiest guy in the world that Garcia hit a home run. But I wonder. I do think the fatigue thing is real. I just not just with him, but I think with other people too. So
yeah, it's tough right with Jonah too, because you need his bat in the lineup right now too, because it has been so thin, and he obviously is, as Kennedy said, has not been as great defensively as it was last year, but he's still a good defensive catcher. So there's not a lot of great opportunities to get him out of the lineup right now, which is also tricky to navigate.
Yeah.
And all due respect to Andrew Kisner, he's not Mitch Garver's bat either. So that does change many things in terms of getting Jonah off his feet whenever that may be.
Yeah, Mitch had such a he was hurt for the first 2 months or whatever. He had a big year. He really did. He had a really nice, important regular season, and obviously the postseason was great too. But he had a big year. That one snuck up on me.
Well, not that nobody cares about my opinion. I'm just a guy that's doing that, but I'll throw mine in. And since you would obviously Adolis is probably somebody you could do. Also, Kennedy's right. Jonah is somebody too that hasn't quite donated last year. But for me, if I'm not going to get to choose the obvious one in Adolis, maybe I'll go with someone like Nate Lowe. who obviously started a little late because of the injury and getting into it, the power hasn't been there. And it's not that we expect 50 home runs from Nate Lowe. He has started, look, his bats come on lately.
Yeah.
He's putting together good at bats again too. I really think Josh Young out of this lineup, that bat in that lineup is going to help a lot of things. It just lengthens it is what it does. So that's mine. Let's go to another one. One of our guys, Chev, Chev, who comes on there all the time. He says, if Texas does upgrade at the deadline, what spot are you upgrading and who gets what package? That's harder to determine, but what's the spot they need to make a move at?
Yeah. I would, as much as I like Leody Taveras, they probably need another outfielder. And I think they're gonna get one. Josh Smith's gonna be the left fielder probably, so maybe this takes care of itself. And Leody and Wyatt split time there in center field, and Wyatt would play every day, obviously, but they've just been short in the outfield all year, and Robbie Grossman hasn't played enough or done enough, and so I like it's not gonna be like last year. I don't think where they go get a catcher. I mean, Jonah was hurt at the deadline last year. A backup catcher seems like a luxury item at this point. I don't know that they have the financial wherewithal to add a luxury item. So I would go with an outfielder, maybe a center fielder. And if you want to go crazy, all right, let's go get Jazz Chisholm. All right, go get Jazz.
What about you guys? Hey, by the way, for anybody that's watching, we got they're coming on more and more. If you will top up a question, get it to me, and I'll get it on here. So this is live. Go ahead and hit them to me. Go ahead, Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time I say the Rangers need to upgrade at first base, Nathaniel Lowe goes on a tear, and I think like 3 weeks ago I was like, go get Pete Alonso, and then Nathaniel Lowe's been great in these 3 weeks, but I think if Nate can produce consistently like he did a couple years ago, and even in the early parts of last year, then we're not even talking about this. I don't think the Rangers have what it needs to probably trade for Pete Alonso as a rental, even at that. But obviously, I think Jeff's hit the nail on the head in terms of outfielders, especially if Evan Carter is still down and still struggling as much as he was against lefties. And speaking as if Josh Young is going to be back soon after the All-Star break and around the deadline time, and how things will kind of play themselves out there, like Jeff said.
I mean, this is terrible. I forgot about Evan Carter. I mean, I guess he could, but do you want him to play every day?
Well, he hasn't been about a clubhouse either. He's down in Arizona.
Right, he's in Arizona. But you mentioned, Kennedy, the struggles against lefties. I don't know that he's an everyday player. You don't just throw him back in, I don't think. I think that's kind of established at this point. You got to win games, and if he's not going to hit, well, anyway. All right, Shawn's up.
I know it's not very flashy, but I feel like this team needs a bench bat. Like, this is a pretty thin bench, especially if you're going to have Josh Smith playing almost every day. I mean, I think Travis Jankowski brings a lot of positives to this team, but he has like a sub 500 OPS right now. He's just not a guy. I think last year, look at Travis, and he said it that, he loved his role last year, where it was just like, when I played, just get on first base, steal second, and score. It was that simple. And, with Ezekiel Duran now in AAA figuring things out, you look at that bench and, outside of Robbie Grossman against lefties, there's just not a lot of options right there when you do have to give a Jonah Heim a day off, or give anyone a day off, or, this or that. That's not the flashy splash, that might save this team, but it is a pretty thin bench, I think. And I think having more reliable options would really help.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me personally, not that anyone cares again, but I kind of agree with Shawn on a bat, and more of a right-handed bat, and like he said, and so at one point I was thinking if this team was definitely in it, you could go get a rental. I don't think they'll get a rental at all. If they buy anyone, it'll be not at this point, unless it's just somebody that's serving no purpose on someone else, and they're willing to take some money or something like that, or a low-level prospect. They're not going to rent anybody. I think any deal they would make would be long-term, but we'll get into more questions about trade deadline that people are talking about. I do have a funny one here from Let's see. Tyler Henderson. Who is most likely to bump T Swift in the clubhouse? Kennedy?
Oh,
What
that's
is
Josh
bump?
Smith.
Huh?
Like play it. Just play it in the clubhouse. That's
Oh,
Josh
okay, all
Smith,
right.
1,000%.
Old man.
I'm trying to learn the vernacular here.
Yeah, Josh Smith.
Yeah, me and Josh Smith went to the same Taylor Swift concert in Arizona a couple years ago. So definitely him.
Okay. All right. So let's go to another one. Okay, here's another one that I wanted to get out there. Let's go. Let's say, assuming the Rangers make no huge moves at the deadline, who do you see in the rotation and the bullpen when Mahle, DeGrom, and Bradford come back?
Okay.
Let's go around there. What do you see happening? I mean, because look, people can talk deadline all they want. This team can have its own deadline. They've got some people that are hurt that are coming back that are huge for this organization.
Yeah. First of all, I think they could trade starting pitching.
Yep.
If they need to get something, I think because they feel good about the guys coming back, they might be able to trade Lorenzen, trade John Gray, maybe. Maybe trade Heaney, but Heaney's been really good lately. So anyway, okay, so let's say on August 20th, Jacob DeGrom makes his season debut. The rotation will be Max Scherzer, Evaldi, DeGrom, Mahle, and
if you haven't got rid of him, maybe Gray or Heaney.
I would say Heaney. I think you want a different look.
Or Bradford.
I don't think Bradford. No,
he goes to the pen. Okay, he was.
And it's you just can't have all these starters in the bullpen.
Right.
You can't have half your bullpen be starting pitchers. You have to have guys that can go out and get it, can warm up in 5-8 pitches, and go in the game and get a big out. And I don't know that starting pitchers can do that. So that's why I also think that they're going to have to make this thing work. They're going to have to make a trade. I really think they're going to have to trade some pitching. It'll help with the South
40-man spots.
It'll help with 40-man spots. It'll help with money, because that's an underlying issue here. The payroll, the lack of a TV deal is an underlying issue here. So whatever I said.
You said DeGrom,
Scherzer,
Evaldi, Mahle,
and I'm going with Heaney.
You're going with Heaney. Kennedy?
I pretty much agree. Mostly, I would say Heaney in the rotation just because he's a lefty, and I just don't like rotations that are all right-handed. Obviously, I think Cody Bradford could come out of the bullpen fairly easily. I think, honestly, I like John Gray to the bullpen. Me and Shawn have talked about this off podcast before, but he's an electric closer. Like, just let him go out there. I think he could do it. He hasn't allowed a run in his 2 relief appearances this year. Was really great in the postseason last year. I'm so fine with him just being a leverage reliever.
Give you more than one, too.
And he's an expensive leverage reliever at this point, if that's what's going to happen. But if that's what they're going to do at the end of the season, that's how many arms they're going to have, then I'm 1,000% okay with that. And I think you're right, trade Lorenzen. Like, you can get something for him to a contender, somebody like Los Angeles needs the Dodgers, not the Angels. Obviously, need some rotational depth.
Yeah.
Seattle, even I don't know if they trade in division, but a lot of teams need starting pitching, and the Rangers could get something back from them, especially with how many prospects they've dealt off in the last few years too.
Yeah.
What about you, Shawn?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Kennedy and Jeff said. I mean, Cody Bradford is definitely an unfortunate luck kind of guy, given how well he started this season before the never-ending back injury that became a rib injury that has now derailed him. And even I think Bruce Bochy said a couple weeks ago that they're preparing him now to come out of the bullpen as he makes his way back. And he was good in that role last year when he was flip-flopping between the rotation and the bullpen. But to your point, he's not your prototypical flamethrower that comes out of the bullpen leverage situations, but he's been good at it. And yeah, John Gray, I mean, when he is on, he can be a very good starter, as we've seen from various month periods last year and this year. But, when he's off, it is not as reliable, and he has been very good out of the bullpen when he has had to come out of the bullpen with that 2-pitch fastball slider mix. I mean, I think it's going to pitching staff is going to look different in a month or now when you have these guys come back post deadline. But I do agree that you're looking at DeGrom, Scherzer, Malley, Eovaldi, and I think Heaney's probably the safest bet for that 5 spot.
So then the bullpen, I don't know if that's a question, but we're going to
Yes,
ask
it is part of it.
So Yates and Robertson,
Sure.
Spores,
Yep.
Leclerc. Okay. So then
That's 4.
Latz has options.
So maybe he gets.
We can
because
send
Bradford
Latz
takes
to
this
bullpen to Round Rock. I mean, for a bit.
So so then we're going to add Gray. So that's 5.
Bradford.
I don't know. Dunning. You could trade.
Oh wow,
Dunning.
we forgot about Dane.
Forgot about Dane Dunning.
Dunning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love
that speaks to that. Dunning 6.
We got 8. So we got 8 in the bullpen.
Let's say they don't trade Lorenzen. Lorenzen's at least been a reliever before 7. So then,
we got one more spot, and you've got people like Bradford, Latz. You've already talked
Bradford,
about
Latz, Jonathan Hernandez.
all with Hernandez.
Do we don't have any? Do we have any lefties in this bullpen right now? Cody Bradford.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
would
only
have to
one.
be the Bradford Latz decision.
Well, then I think I want Latz.
You want Latz because he's better at what he does. Bradford is your long guy.
Yeah, so I don't.
But we have like 12 long guys.
That's
see,
true.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, and then like
I hate it when people make sense.
I forgot about
Oh, Urania.
Urania's maybe been their best pitcher all season. Kirby Yates. He's been unbelievable.
There's going to be a meeting of guys with options, and they're going to go, look, here's the situation.
There aren't that many guys with options. So
Latz and Bradford are the only 2, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Does Johnny have options?
I don't think Hernandez does anymore.
He's out, and he's pitching decent enough. He'd get claimed.
Yes, he would.
I don't know. See, we got problems, so we got to make some trades.
You're going to have to.
I want to start the Daniel Robert agenda, by the way. I like what a story this dude has. Like,
Yeah,
did not
great
pitch in
story.
college. Had to he rehabbed from Tommy John surgery in like 5 months to make it back to effectively try out for the Rangers. He bumps like 96, 97. I don't think he's long for this team, but it's a cool story for a 29-year-old to be here, and I am planting my flag on the Daniel Robert.
He turns 30 next month.
Shawn, I couldn't agree more. I love that. I love a guy that just keeps grinding, and at 28, 29,
he's almost 30. He's
yeah,
30
he just
30 in a
gets
few
there.
weeks.
Finally, it gets there, and he does it. And I want nothing but success for that guy. That's what I want. So it's a great story.
Kennedy doesn't like him because he went to Auburn.
Yeah, there you go.
Wrong Tigers.
There's some SEC crap
But
in that clubhouse.
coming out of the lockout, 22, the Rangers were genuinely worried that if there had been a Rule 5 draft, that they would have lost Daniel Robert.
Yeah, they were. I remember you saying.
Oh, I do remember that.
So anyway,
okay, so here's ones from Bruce, and this we kind of touched on it, but it's interesting now that I reread it. Bruce asks, who do you think the Rangers would sell if they do sell? We've hinted on it, but let's get into it. Or if they do buy, who is untouchable?
Okay, so sell any of the starters.
Right, you got
Gray,
Lorenzen, even Dunning, or with
Gray, Dunning, Lorenzen, Eovaldi. We'll just put them over in the. I would say Urania too. Let's just go ahead and put them over there. And then untouchable. I think the only untouchable prospect is Walcott
right now.
point.
Sebastian.
Yeah,
I'm not even confident
Teodo. Maybe Teodo, but I think that's it. But I don't think they're.
No,
I mean,
if they bought it, would be for long term.
I mean, the names that people talk about. Yeah, people always are when they come up with these trades. I think they're coming up with they're giving away too much. How many trades are there that are really like a team's 1, 3, 5, and 7? There just aren't that many trades like that anymore. And I don't think there's not a Mark Teixeira deal out there for the Rangers or for anybody for that matter. I don't think so.
Not anymore.
But I would say Walcott, and you can't get rid of Teodo at this point. You just got to let that one ride out. I mean, it's been too good at Double-A. I mean, it's a below 2 ERA. You got to see how it ends up.
You got to see how it plays. Kennedy.
Yeah, I I'm such a I'm not a prospect hugger. I'm like, send them all out for all I care. Like, quite frankly,
Well,
yeah,
that's what the players think.
Yeah.
Like the big league
Yeah.
players are.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to hear it.
Michael Young told me once, we were talking, this is when he was obviously on the team. So when they were good, he's like, trade them all. Trade them all.
Well, yeah.
Get us what we
Like,
need. Trade them all.
Yep.
Like, you get Max Scherzer last year. You think any of those 28 guys care about, all due respect to Luis Angel Acuna, like, he could be great. It doesn't matter. Like,
Right.
So I don't I just personally I guess in theory Walcott should be the only untouchable. I think, sure, Toyota, you want to let that ride out, and I'm still not we have hopes, but I'm still not entirely confident in any of the pitchers in this farm, becoming really great
contributors
every day. Yeah. All due respect to Cody Bradford, who I guess is the most recent success story, barring the back rib, whatever. But send them all out. I don't think anybody's untouchable if the Rangers are in a spot that they could add.
Shawn?
Yeah, I agree. And to Jeff's point, I don't know if there's going to be a trade out there that would warrant trading Sebastian Walcott anyways. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, right.
If there is, I don't know if the Rangers would even be in that mix because of, money issues and the TV issues and, still having an eye on the future too. But yeah, I also lean on the side of Kennedy. I am also this is not a Ranger specific thing. I am just team trade pitching prospects as soon as they have value. I don't know if it's how many teams in baseball can really develop pitching consistently? You can count them on one hand. It feels like. I am just in favor of, I really like Toyota. I like the Winston Santos and Alejandro Rosarios who've had really good seasons, but if there's a move that can be made that can legitimately help this team this year, or even looking into next year, that requires one of those guys, I think you do that. And you look at, we haven't mentioned his name, but what do they do with Justin Foscue? He's been kind of the odd man out for a couple years now, with obviously the Seager signing, the Simeon signing, the Langford explosion. What is his long-term role on this team? I think the bat is good. It could probably help this team, but what's the long-term home for him? I don't know.
Yeah,
there's the question. Jeremy Harrington, Foscue, should he be called up?
I think that his future is tied to Nate Lowe's future. Nate Lowe is making $7.5 million this year. I think he has 2 years of arbitration left. If the team gets a lousy TV deal, even if it's just for 1 year, do they save money on putting Foscue at first base over Nate Lowe? I mean, it's something to think about. It's not, we've talked about Nate right at the start. It's not like he's sitting on 30 homers here at the All-Star break. So even he said it the other day, first basemen have to hit home runs to stay in the league. And, he's at this point, he's more of a James Loney trajectory than he is, a good defensive player, left-handed batter who doesn't hit it for a ton of power. So I think that's Foscue's kind of tied to that. But I would think Foscue could get a call up depending on how things shake out there. Anyway.
If they don't get one of these right-handed bats that Shawn and I so desperately want coming out of this deadline, he's surely somebody that they could call on within the organization.
I've been banging the Justin Foscue drum for years. If Justin Foscue has no fans, I am dead.
All right, let's start bouncing these questions around.
Okay. Andrew, should the Rangers consider a 6-man rotation to give pitchers like DeGrom and Malley extra rest coming off the injury?
Kennedy.
Oh, wow, I'm going first there. I think they should at least consider it. I don't know how you don't consider it, considering this rotation is a bunch of old guys who are hurt all the time. Eventually, respectfully, I haven't looked at what the kind of schedule looks like in the second half there, and if how off days just will naturally play into that and will help out this rotation. But I do think that's something that Mike and Boch and CY will have to at least consider and talk about as we kind of get all those guys back into this rotation.
I don't think it'd be a true 6-man. Like early in the year, they had that long stretch where they dropped in
spot starters. Yeah,
they dropped in lighter. Right in Detroit.
Sure.
And that was strictly to give everybody a day off. So, next question.
Well, but you could also, Shawn. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, they might have to unless they sell some of these guys. Like we just talked about it 10 minutes ago, but they're going to have like a dozen starting pitchers on this roster unless they option guys or trade guys. So I don't know. Maybe from time to time to give guys breaks, but I don't know if that's a long-term solution.
I agree.
I hear you, Boo.
I hear you, but I agree with that
Mike
too.
Maddox is not a fan of 6-man.
One thing they can do too, though, some of these guys can what did they call it? Piggyback off each other and do that. But you're right. That's a tough one. Let's see. What is here's one that they just want to know from y'all. What's everyone's favorite of the current uniforms? Which ones do you guys like the best?
I'm a powder blue girly.
I'm all white.
I like all white with red hats.
Me too.
Red hats.
Shawn and I. It's nothing against the blue hats, which I grew up with.
Definitely a blue hat guy. I'm a blue hatter.
Well, I grew up with the powder blues. They used to be the away uniforms when I was a kid for the Rangers, and while I like them, they just don't look right to me without the red bill and the on the helmet and all of that stuff. To me, it's still a little weird, but I do like just the white uniform with the red hat. I'm a big fan of that. That reminds me of the 90s when they were really started their first run of being pretty good and went to the playoffs and lost to the Yankees every year. It was always the red uniforms.
All right. So how about a question for each one of us that only one of us answers, and then we'll finish with Billy Flanagan's.
Right.
All right.
Well, this one though, this one's a pretty good one though that they want to know from all of you.
Okay.
What is the most unexpected, surprising thing you've learned about a player that most of us are probably unaware of?
Oh,
Current player?
ooh.
That's what they're asking. Yep.
A current player.
Well, you could go to a past one, but
They
for
could
us
too.
that get to actually interact with these guys, what's something you've learned that they may not be aware of? I'll tell you mine.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you mine. Nobody cares.
That'll buy us time.
Yeah, I did not realize how good of a ping pong player Josh Sborz was. I mean, he's probably the best one in that clubhouse. And I know that Simeon's good, and you see Josh Smith play; they're all good. But I'm telling you, I haven't seen Sborz lose.
Huh?
Okay, that's mine. I was surprised by that.
The guys do say that Sborz is the best one.
And I've seen it. That's why I thought that.
Everybody knows this. So, but the Max Scherzer eyes, it still messes me up. And last year, I said something to Mitch Garver about it, and he goes, "Which one do you look at?" So that's kind of a good tip, I think. But so the Max Scherzer eyes, I don't know if I'm ever going to get over the Max Scherzer eyes. And I knew about it when he came here, but I didn't know about it.
It's very striking when you talk to him for the first time and he looks you dead in the eyes in the scrum when you ask a question and you're like, okay, all right, sure, all right, Max.
All right, you two. We'll get to the last one after this to Billy, but go ahead. What are y'all? What's something that nobody's aware of?
So mine, this is from the Rangers media guide. I found this in spring training.
I know it is.
It's that apparently Ezekiel Duran loves Tom and Jerry, the cartoon.
So do I.
And I think about that often. I don't know. It's one of my favorite little things to find in a media guide. So that might be up there for me.
They had a Tom and Jerry movie not that long ago.
Did they really?
Yeah. But I think they were friends. Tom and Jerry went downhill once they had a season or two where they were like buddies, and you
can't be.
It was garbage.
It doesn't work if
it was
they're
terrible.
buddies.
What happened to the game?
I hated it growing up when the Friends episodes came up.
All right, Kennedy.
I guess the best thing I can think right now is Kirby Yates. We were talking to him a couple weeks ago, me, Leslie, and Evan, and we were like, how did your family get to like Hawaii, like your dad was military, but then he came back to California or whatever. And Kirby was just like, in his own words, I'm not, exaggerating. He said, "Oh, my dad was just a beach bum." Like, and he just stayed in Hawaii. And he was like, "Yeah, that's so." Like, he opened some restaurants and he went back to California, met his mom or knew his mom, but they got married, came back to Hawaii, and that's where they've been forever. And I was like, that's great. I wish I was your dad. My God.
And I'll end it on this, it kind of took me off guard, but a lot of the players, including Yates and Langford and them, they're all coffee drinkers. And it'll be middle of the afternoon and they'll come in with coffee and drink. Kennedy and I like coffee. We're always going up to the press box and she's showing it off right there. But that surprises me, especially athletes getting ready for a game and all of that. You think a sports drink or
see what they're putting in that coffee.
But they got those little coffees going in there. You'll see them all the time. The biggest one's Robbie Grossman. He says he drinks coffee almost 24/7.
Yikes.
All right,
he drinks a lot of coffee.
Yeah, this is Billy Flanagan, friend of the show, lifelong Ranger fan. He said, "Bear with me here, lifelong Ranger fan like many, couldn't be happier that they won the World Series last year, but they had two important winning streaks last year, a 40-20 start that they rode to the playoff spot and an amazing postseason. Outside of those streaks, they are 94-100, a large sample. Is this a team on the verge of a, dare I say it, extended success, or a team like many feel they just need to make the tournament? The best teams don't always win anyway."
Yeah, I don't think baseball is a sport where you can turn it on like the NBA. I don't think you can be like Shaq and Kobe and not show up for 5 months and then all of a sudden you take the Lakers to the playoffs. I think they're a good team. I think that they're going to be good for a while. I just think that they've had underperforming guys and they've had injuries, and you can have one, but you can't have both.
Right.
And so I think that's kind of been their issue this year. But I think they're a good ball club, and I think they're going to be good for money issues notwithstanding. I think they're going to be good for foreseeable, let's say, the next 5 years.
Yeah. Kennedy?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we're it kind of feels like we're just playing the Bruce Bochy agenda, but opposites. Before this year, he was always winning, doing really well in even numbered years, and playing like average and odd number years. It feels like we're just flip flopping that. And I was looking at it the other day. He's never made the playoffs after going to the World Series, and that that can always change, obviously. But it feels like I think this is a good team. I think they'll probably, like Jeff said, be good for an extended period of time here. But it just feels like one of those years where things aren't kind of clicking and rolling. And I think it's very possible that they finish the season above 500 and play some good baseball down the stretch, and it may be too late. Especially looking at the AL standings and how this division is playing out. But also with how the division is playing out, they can still win it because everybody's bad. But I agree with Jeff, and I feel like this is just the Bruce Bochy playbook as well.
John?
Yeah, but sorry, my quiet spot in the airport is no longer so quiet anymore. But I think there's two sides to it. Like, I think in sports in general, like, the window always closes faster than you think it will. There aren't many teams now across all sports that can be legitimate title contenders for like 5 to 10 years. The window does close quick, but to that point, all you can do is do everything you can to keep that window open. And I think the Rangers are in a position to do that between the young talent like Wyatt Langford and Josh Young and Evan Carter, if assuming everything continues to progress well there, and the commitment they've made in these last few years to supplement this team with free agency signings and deadline moves. So yeah, I agree with Jeff. This is a good team. There's a good core here. It has not been a great year, but all you can kind of do is do everything you can to keep that window open for as long as possible. And, you can't win if you don't get in. We look at last year, they barely got in, they won it. So all you can do is do what you can to get in and see what happens from there.
Yeah.
I'd like to agree with all of you. I'd love to agree, and I hope that's the case. We'll see what happens in this offseason, especially when some of the money falls off. You kind of expect maybe they'll go back and spend a little more money this offseason again. I didn't expect them to spend a lot of money this offseason.
I did
This past, and they really didn't. I mean, they kind of had what they thought was in place. They thought some of these kids were going to step up. But I do too. I do see the talent on this team has a chance to be something special for a few years here. They're definitely not in a rebuild. They're on the backside of it. This season's been a disappointment. The injuries obviously have not helped, but you can't always make injuries an issue. I mean, you've got to still perform. This lineup's still pretty stout when they were all performing like they could be, even without Young in it right now. And the pitching's been okay. I mean, they've had some good pitching all year. So, I mean, it's just they can't score runs right now. So they have the opportunity, but you can't perform like you're performing right now.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, what are we going to be doing in October?
Well, we'll see how many LSU games I go to, and the Rangers will determine that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the next 2 weeks, I think it's decided. I really do. Although I was around for 15, and the 15 team was great in August and September. So there's that possibility out there, but I don't know.
They got to play some meaningful baseball. They need to go out and play meaningful baseball. They're not out of it
I
yet.
don't think they can win the wild card, so they got to win the division.
Yeah, they got to win the division.
The Rangers this year are basically the Mariners last year. Mariners were 6 games back by the time we got to the All-Star break. They sold off some minor pieces at the deadline. They went on that stretch in August. They were, obviously in it till the very end when the Rangers were in Seattle at the end there. That's kind of what the trajectory that the Rangers kind of look like they're on right now, selling off some little pieces at the deadline and somehow going on a run when some people get back. So I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but it could.
And would anyone be super surprised if they just tore through August? You know what I mean? If this lineup just happens to get hot or September. Yeah. And if they just have a really good 2-week stretch, I wouldn't be surprised or super surprised with, if everything clicks in the lineup and the pitching continues to be as it has. The bullpen's been pretty good lately too, more than just Yates and Robertson. So, again, the pieces are there. So,
right. You're right.
All right, guys. Well, listen, Kennedy, Shawn, thanks so much for stopping down. We've run almost 40 minutes. We're going to get y'all out of here. We're going to do this again. We've always talked about doing it multiple times. Maybe we'll do a live. We do live shows during the off season. Get you to come out to a brewery and have a beer.
Ooh, yeah.
Get some players out with us, and we'll have some
beer.
We'll love to come have a beer. Beer's on us. We'll do that and try to do that, guys. Big thanks to Kennedi Landry and Shawn McFarland. When we come back after this, we're going to go down in the bus league. Guys, thanks a lot for doing it.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. All right. Good flight. Have a good